Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us on YouTube on St. Patrick's Day. In honor of St. Patrick's Day, we are going to paint a green painting today. So the first step is to wet the paper. I'm going to use a 3/4 inch flat brush. This is a Winsor Newton 995. I'm going to put a lot of water on it. I have this green over there, which I'm not going to worry about. The thing about this painting here is that it's a layered painting. I love to paint in watercolors and layers. I use it all the time, starting with the light layers in the back and then working over the top of them with darker and darker layers. So that's nice and wet. I think when the water seeps in better, my paper will flatten. I'm drying the edges. I'll show you what's on the back of it. Oh, that's nothing. That's the first step. I'm going to redo that first step. Okay. So the first step is to use phthalo yellow green. And I'm going to put it all over the whole painting. But I do want to leave lighter areas of almost white paper. So it's not a solid color, but rather has light areas and dark areas. So I squished out some phthalo yellow green, so I just touch it and I have a whole brush full. Because phthalo yellow green, when it's old and in your palette, it hardens. Grumbacher is a little bit cheaper paint, and so it hardens, and if you have to keep going like this to get it wet, it takes a long time. I just added some Hands of Yellow Medium or Bumblebee to my puddle, and I'm going to put a little bit of that up. So that is this first layer. I'm going to sign my name right now in my wet paint. I'm using a bamboo that's been sharpened to a point. Write my name into the paper, pushing kind of hard, slowly and hard. And it'll damage the paper, and then the paint will flow into those marks. And I put a little C with a circle around it for copyright. Even though I'm using another person's painting as my inspiration, this painting is on paper, and it becomes my own painting. I wouldn't really put it in a show, but it'll be my copyright. So the next thing then is to get these streaks. In this painting, there's these sunlight streaks going across, 2 of them at an angle to about right here. So I want to make that green and put those in while this is sopping wet. I'll be using my 3/4 inch brush. I used blue-green the first 2 times I painted this painting, and I don't really like the look of the blue-green, so I've decided I want to use Antwerp blue. So if I mix my Antwerp blue into that same puddle, I'm a much better looking green. And I'm just going to start down here and make it be at an angle, and it's going to stop about right there. So it goes from there to there. So here I go. So that's Antwerp. And my
Antwerp and what?
Halo yellow green. Or you just use Antwerp and Hands of Yellow Medium or Bumblebee. It's really just more Antwerp. And then there's a second one of these coming across. So it's blending, it's bleeding. I really want it to sort of look like kind of dark shadows in the sun. And then it's sort of not really obvious what happens to it right in here, but they sort of stop. So I just have two big old lines going down that sort of stop right there. I'll fix them by putting a tree through them. I think that'll work. So here's my greens. So while this is damp in this first layer, what I want to do is put in leaves that are phthalo yellow green or yellow, pretty much yellow. So I'm going to clean my brush out now. I'm going to go to my yellow, or I can my hand or my phthalo yellow green. I'm going to put some more yellow in that one. So this one's really pale. Touch my paper towel, and I'm just going to use the corner of my brush to put in foliage. That is in this sunlight. And it's wet, so it's blurring around, blurring into the background. And I'm going to put it up in this corner. This will get mostly covered up, but a little bit of this is going to show. So all I'm doing is dotting this color in with the corner of my brush. So I'm making little taps with the corner of my brush. I'm going to put them up in here. And then when I touch that dark green, then this green gets a little darker. I'm putting some in here. I'm going to put them over in this side too. These will get almost all covered up, but just a few of these over here where that get covered up will also be showing. Then there's one more step in this first layer, and that's to put up some yellow tree trunks. So I'm using my 3/4 inch brush in that pale yellow again, but I want to make sure that my brush has a nice sharp edge to it. And I'm going to just start here, right in this area here, and just go right up. I want to put 2 or 3 of this color trunks in. So I'm looking at this picture, and I'm only looking at the really, really pale yellow trunks. They start about here. I'll point to it. And they go up right out the top of the painting. So I'm gonna do another one of those.
So what are you using for that, Mary Kay?
It's phthalo yellow green.
Oh, that's all. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's still just that. And then the edge of my brush just going this straight up with the edge of it. And then another one is gonna go right in here.
Okay.
And that's it for the first layer. The next step is to match the green in those streaks and to paint that trunks up in those colors. So I'm going to use my favorite brush now, my new favorite. I'm going to use that same color I'd already mixed for those two streaks. And I'm going to start over here and see how they look. So I'm going to start about here and just paint these trunks right up at the top, and take some water and soften the bottom of these so they're kind of blurry. They go starting not a hard line. We just want it to sort of kind of comes out of the mist. Okay, that one's about right. So that gives me some confidence to put a bunch more of those in. Little ones, skinny ones, some fat ones. Just going to be brave and just put them up. Not worry about it too much. Just soften the bottom again on all of them. So, and there's kind of a dark one that sort of starts in here and sort of bends over. I am going to actually try to put that one in. I like it. So here I go, this big one. And again, I'm just softening the bottom here, making it go from the mist. And some more of these soft ones. That one had hardly any paint in it, but I like it. The one I just put in. So remember to put them all different distances apart. So I'm going to put this one here. Then I have to be careful I don't put it exactly the same distance from there to there. So it needs to be a little farther apart. And they just go right out the top. And smudge the bottom. So to smudge the bottom, I get my brush all cleaned out. It just has water. I touch my paper towel. Now I have a little thirsty brush and I just sort of soften the bottoms. And I don't know how many of these I want to put in. It's almost the more the merrier, but I don't want to overdo it. I think maybe a couple more. I have all groups of 2, so I need to make some of these be groups of 3. Some odder numbers, maybe skinnier, maybe fatter. That's good enough for trunks. And now, once those trunks are in, I have to match that with the foliage. So now I need a lot of paint this exact same color. So I'm using phthalo yellow green and Antwerp, which phthalo yellow green has something in it that's slightly opaque. I'm not sure what that is. Now I'm just using my little round brush to put in some foliage. And this is where I can get I can either do it this way, just dotting it in a bunch, or I can get my sponge, natural sponge. I get the sponge all wet and totally wring it out. And then, of course, I should have my gloves on. I'm not using the indigo yet, so maybe I won't bother. The phthalo yellow green will rinse out of my fingernails. It's not as staining. Now here's the trick to using a sponge. You have to change the shape of the sponge every single time you touch the paper. So if I do this and I dot it there like that, it'll make that pattern. So now the next time what I need to do is just kind of change it up a little bit and dot a different direction. So each time I touch the paper, I'm twisting it a little bit and I'm twisting my arm. So I'm not getting the same pattern every time. It's varied every single time I touch. And I'm going to put in this layer of this color foliage all across the top. And mix more paint because there's nothing like a sponge to use a lot of paint. It's like magic. Mixing up more paint. I think up in this corner, I'm going to dot it in with my brush just to kind of get some going in there. I like the brush and the sponge working together. At the end, we'll put in the little branches and we'll use all the different colors to do that. I like to put them down here too. Oh, it's like magical. So, got my sponge again. So I'm just filling up the top. That's probably enough of that color. This is nice and dry. I dried it with a blow dryer. And now my next step is to put in my indigo tree trunks and foliage. So I'm just gonna, I put fresh indigo out this morning so you can see it's just loading up really fast. I'm gonna start over here. I'm using my number 10, my museum brush. And I'm picking it, I'm looking at the picture and I'm gonna put this one in over here. I'm not gonna start with that one, which is the focal point. I'm gonna work over here just to make sure everything's going okay. Starting a little lower, it's big and fat. It's not perfectly straight. It leans up into the painting. Now I'm gonna put my glove on real fast because I know from now on I'm getting in it. I'm getting messy. So now down here, what I want to do where I'm planting it is soften it, but I want to get this nice and dark down here too. So I'm just tapping it. So there's one huge big trunk. And I can put, this whole corner is going to be basically indigo. I'm darkening my corner with just my brush. I have little bits of yellow showing through. That looks good. There's my corners nice and darkened. I've got that one trunk up. Now I'm going to put another trunk close. It's going to start off close and then maybe not follow it parallel, because I don't want it to be parallel. I want it to start close and just sort of go a different direction slightly. And I'm going to make it nice and thick, like a double brush stroke. So I like those two. Now I'm going to put in a third one. It might not be as dark as those two. Started about here. I'm putting in this one. So different distance from those two. Farther away and a little different shape. Yeah, and it's not quite as dark. My brush is not as loaded. I like that. I'm going to put another one that kind of starts here and goes around it. My brush sort of skipped in there. I didn't have enough paint and water in it, so I'm just going to redo it. Again, I'm working these edges. Those are the nice dark trunks. And now I have these two, the focal point and the one that's slightly behind it. So I'm going to load my brush with Indigo. I'm going to pick the start of it. Where it starts, it's lower than those other ones. It's not dead in the center. It's off to the side, and it has a nice shape. So here I go. I'm going to start up, make a little twisty thing, make it bend a little bit, and go right out the top of the page. Load up my brush some more and do the other side. And I definitely want it to get thinner as it goes up. So it's got to be thickest at the bottom. And then I'm going to plant that. I'm going to put the same color at the bottom of the painting. And then add a lot of water so it gets all soft and blurry and oh, it's dramatic. Now I need one more of these trunks right in here, and it's not going to be as dark as that one. So it's going to have more water, less paint, a different shape, a different size. It starts at a different height. And here I just have to be brave and put it in. And then again, soften the bottom, plant it, soften it. My paper towel's getting a workout today. It's dramatic. Now it's the foliage, just indigo. So this is going to use a lot of indigo. And it's going to really get everything messy. My sponge is going to get messy. My hands would get messy if I didn't have these gloves on. And this is where it's going to happen. So again, I just have my sponge. I don't need to clean it. I'll just use it on top of that green that's already on it. And I just start going for it. I'm going to start up in this corner. Again, I'm twisting it every time, manipulating the sponge so that each piece of foliage looks different than the last bit I put in. I want this side kind of dark in here, so put that in there. I kind of want this dark foliage to really sort of go all the way across the top of the painting. Kind of stops my eye. That's okay. That's the next step, the dark trunks and the dark foliage. So the next step is to add a bunch of these branches. I have, this is a rigger brush. Something has happened. There we go. Okay, so for a second there, my video paused. My internet connection's unstable, but that's okay. We'll work with it. Okay, so I'm using my puddle of indigo. This is a rigger brush. Maybe I do want a glove on. My paper towel. Okay, so a rigger brush is a thin brush and very long, so it makes long lines. I'm going to start over here and do a few and just check how it goes. So what I'm doing is I'm holding my brush about midway, and I'm very loosely painting with it so that it's it's not a straight harsh line. It's a wiggly line. I'm varying the shape by twisting up and down. Some of these come out and they come kind of sweeping down. Oh, that's a cute one. They're separating at really a less than a 45-degree angle, but some of them do kind of come up and then swoop down. That was kind of a harsh line right there that I just put in because that tree trunk was pale and I made the branch dark, so I'm going to try to lighten it up. That's better. So I want the branches coming off to be the same darkness as the trunk. So I have a really dark trunk, then I can have a really dark branch. If my trunk is the pale color, then I want to have a pale branch coming off of it that matches the same color. And they separate. They do a lot of, there's one that'll come off and then it'll go, but it comes off, a V comes off. So now here's an example where I have that dark branch I just painted, and I actually ended up skipping. And now what I'm going to do is go to my medium green. I'm going to make some real fast. So medium green is Phthalo and Antwerp. So from the spots that I've ended here, now I'm going to have it switch color. And I can put a little bit of foliage there too. I'm just doing it with my rigger brush. Rinse that out. Decide what I'm going to do next. Some of this foliage in this light area of the painting is that medium green. So I'm going to put a few branches of medium green or phthalo, pretty much just phthalo. And some more foliage at the end of those. Just maybe I'll get my nice round brush and paint more foliage with that. This is the medium green. Has some Antwerp or some indigo in it that I can't get rid of. And that looks good too. Just all the colors. I'm going to get this brush really clean so I can have some very, very pale yellow, really light yellow, which is phthalo yellow green and Hansa yellow medium. Now if I add just some dots of that, oh, there's a little foliage. That's what I wanted, that color. Just kind of being there in that sunlight. Put a little on this side of the tree if I have it on that side of the tree. If I use that same color in my rigger brush, I can put some branches in under that color. I could paint branches in for about another 10 minutes probably, but I think I'm going to stop because when I look on the screen, I can see it and it looks like it's okay. And this is demonstration painting. I'm trying to decide if the bottom needs a little more like dark leaves and forest debris. I think it needs just a little bit. So I'm just going to take my number 10 and right now see what's in it and paint with it a little bit and see what happens. Just trying to make it look more foresty, more misty, more grounded. I feel like I just need a little bit of softening in this area, right in here. Softening and darkening both. That's good. I think I'm going to quit. Well, before I quit, I can see one thing I want to do. I want to get some little twigs coming off this main tree trunk here, the big black one. Just needs a few little dark ones coming off like they've been broken. Yeah, I needed a few more twigs. You guys can probably hear the guy cutting the weeds in the back field. I live next to an open field that's owned by the school district. So all the time, yeah, they're cutting down trees and chipping and stuff back there. That's that sound. Yeah. Well, it works. It's lovely. Lots of layers, very soft. Your
There
colors are
enough light?
gorgeous.
Is there enough light on it you could see?
Yeah,
it?
yeah. All of those spots were fine. Your focal point's beautiful.
Thank you.
Oh, wow. Oh, beautiful.
That's beautiful. Yay, look at these forests. You guys are good.
Wow.
It's really nice.
Did you use a sponge?
What was the question?
Did you use a sponge on the foliage?
I used a sponge and then I also used a brush.
Beautiful. Oh, it's lovely. I like your soft trees in the back and that tree on the left with its funny branches, its little squiggly branches. That's nice. That one needs a chop.
Lot of depth.
It has a. That's beautiful. I like your angles, your crisscrosses. Yep. That's very dramatic. It's got a lot of conflict with your angles. That one tree branch on the right or in the middle right that goes across adds a lot of drama to it. It's beautiful. Oh, yeah. That is a really nice touch.
Yeah.
Really like it.
Can you?
Oh, it's green. I like it. I like the yellow with the green and all your branches, your nice pathway in. Yeah, it's good. Beautiful.
It's green.
It is the same. Well, thanks for joining us. Another fun painting. I always love layers and happy St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, same to everybody.